Welcome to Bridge Maps with Steve. This is a series where I share how I'm using maps to help organize and structure what I'm learning about bridge. Today's topic is scoring, one of the most important concepts to learn and understand. When you understand scoring, you begin to understand why bridge players make the decisions they do, and bridge strategy starts to make sense. Scoring in bridge is the point system used to measure the results of each hand. It calculates how well you performed based on the contract you bid and the number of tricks you take. Scoring's mathematical. It assigns point values based on what happened at your table. But your score is only part of the story. In bridge, particularly duplicate match point bridge, your results are compared to every other table playing the same hand. That comparison determines your ranking, measured as a percentage, and it's based on what happened at all the tables playing the set of games in the room. In bridge, your raw score earns points, but your ranking percentage depends on how that score compares to everyone else. So what matters isn't simply how many points you score on a hand, but how your result compares to everyone else holding the same cards. It matters because many players learn bridge rules, conventions, and strategy, but do they pause to ask why? The answer is scoring. Scoring helps explain the logic behind many of the decisions, the key decisions you make at the table, and the reasoning behind the strategy itself. The core or main elements of bridge scoring can be broken down into some basic parts: contract value, bonuses, vulnerability, penalties, and competition. Contract value, such as the points you earn for making your contract, your trick points, your over trick points, and part scores. Bonuses is where you get extra value or make extra points for reaching certain levels, such as game bonuses or slam bonuses. And then vulnerability affects your score. If you're vulnerable, you have a larger upside, but you have a larger downside too. You can earn more points, but you can also get bigger penalties. And it definitely affects your decision making. Penalties and competition is another factor. If you're on defense and you're able to set or prevent your opponent from reaching their contract, particularly a game contract, and you set them, you get points. And so in scoring, it affects how you compete for part scores and helps you to make strategic decisions, and sometimes making a sacrifice, such as knowing that you may go down in a contract, but you're preventing your opponent from making a better game. With scoring, the goal is not to memorize or calculate every possible iteration of the scores, but to understand the key ideas behind how scoring works. As you play more, the math becomes more familiar over time. This is my map for scoring. Scoring can be a little overwhelming and there's a lot of math involved. I'm not going to go through the details, but I will provide a link to a PDF of this map that you can access later and spend more time in the details if you'd like. First, I'd like to begin with scoring is one-sided. You get points when you win something, only when you win something. As declare, when you make the contract, or you get a part score. And you also get points when you cede the contract. As defender, you get points when you set or defeat the contract of your opponent. So you never lose points. Points are never taken away, but opponents can gain them. There's vulnerability and not vulnerable. So for not vulnerable, there are bonuses, trick values, and penalties for not making the contract. The bonuses are the contract bonus, a slam bonus, and then insult bonuses that are related to whether you're doubled or there's redoubles. So you get slam bonuses. It's different for slam or a grand slam. In contract bonuses, if you make game, which is making 100 trick points, you get more. You get, here you see, you get 300 versus a part score is only 50. Then there are trick values. So you get bonuses based on the contract, then you get points based on the number of tricks you take. For the number of tricks you make up to the contract, there's a different value for your tricks for no trump, a major, or a minor. And then those trick points are changed also when you're doubled or redoubled. There are overtrick bonuses, similarly when you're not doubled, when you're doubled or redoubled. Then there are penalties for not making the contract. For each under trick, you get penalized by your opponent who set you, them getting the points. Those penalties are larger if you're doubled, and redoubled affects the point values even more. In the same way, when you're vulnerable, it's the same thing. Bonuses, trick values, and penalties. However, the contract bonus is higher if you're in vulnerable, and the slam values are higher if you're vulnerable. The insult bonus isn't changed. The trick values are the same as vulnerability. However, if you're doubled and then redoubled, the point values are different. And the penalties for not making the contract when you're vulnerable are higher. So in that sense, vulnerability makes a big impact. That's a quick review of scoring. I'll put the whole map up and you can look at that. But again, this is included in the description in the YouTube video. You get the bonuses here and the trick values here. There's the whole map. I print this out, have it at my desk, and review it sometimes after I play a game or a bunch of games at the local bridge club. I'll take my recorded scores and my card, take them home, and go back and recalculate or calculate the totals just to give me a better understanding, so I know how points work and contract based on the contract made or not made. Let's look at 3 scoring examples. Making 3 no trump, going down in 4 spades, and making a vulnerable small slam. There's a lot of numbers here, but the focus is really on how the results compare, not how the math computes. First, a 3 no trump contract where we made the contract. The game bonus was 300, and the trick points we got was 100, 40 for the first one, and then 30 for the next 2, for a total of 400 points. This resulted in a ranking of 34.9%. You see here on the boards where somebody else did 78.9% for they bid 6 no trump and +1. So next we have 4 spades with the result going down 1. So as a result of that, the opponent who set us, they get the points. They get 50 points. Interesting, the ranking result was 45%. Not that bad for not making your contract. Next, we'll look at 6 no trump, making 7, i.e. a slam, and being vulnerable. A lot of math here, as the game bonus was 500, the slam bonus was 750, per trick up to the contract was 190, and then the extra trick going from a small slam to full slam, another 30 points. Total of 1,470 points. This ended up with a ranking result of 78.9%. Where it gets interesting is comparing these all together. 3 no trump, making the contract, yielded roughly 35%, whereas going down in 4 spades ended up with a better ranking result than making the 3 no trump contract. So sometimes it's better to go down than to make your contract. And then the slam game ended up with 1,470 points and 79%. So when you take all these things into consideration, you can understand that the goal is really to understand the scoring structure and its impact on ranking outcomes, so you can make better decisions at the table. Some of the practical implications of scoring is that small differences in bridge scoring can have a major impact on your result. One overtrick can matter, 10 points can matter. Simply competing for a contract rather than letting the opponent have the contract can play a big impact to your scoring and results. Vulnerability also comes into play. Because of this, good bridge players make strategic decisions based on scoring. They bid game when appropriate, they fight for part scores, and sometimes they even sacrifice when the math makes sense. Some key points about scoring. In summary, understanding scoring can make you a better, more strategic bridge player. It's more than just math, more than keeping track of points, and more than simply winning a given hand. Scoring helps explain the logic behind much of bridge strategy and decision making. The better you understand scoring, the better you understand the game of bridge. Thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful. See you next time.